This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Without a healthy mind, being happy is hard. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny and see if online therapy is for you.
What's up, and welcome back to the Kinda Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
Aloha.
And of course, we have the new face of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Bonjour.
And
you took mine.
I'll give you a little more time. It's the Texas treat. Latino heat, clicking heads and ripping them to shreds. The globe-trotting, head-shotting nitro rifle from Twitch.tv, Andy Cortez.
Hola.
And there you have it. There you have
I was
it.
going to do what's that, but
it was this or that. Always.
We have a lot of 10-years-olds in our audience that will not understand that reference.
Covering all of the different cultures and languages, we come to the white greeting. What's up? Let's have a Budweiser and hang out in the middle of America. What's up?
Covering different breeds. It's the frogs right there.
Damn. This is proof of how old I am. Is Andy saying...
They said Budweiser.
Oh, that's right. Fucking
Don't come in here with Budweiser trivia. I think you forget that I am a brew master. I've done the brewery tour and the paid for class at the Budweiser plant in St. Louis. All right, sir?
That's pretty cool.
Thank you, Barrett.
What was the origin of Wazaa? Because
it was a Budweiser commercial.
Like, I think, okay. But it wasn't the
and
front.
then
It was just
Scream
a different
took it.
one.
Yeah, that Scream took it and ran with it and destroyed it. It was so good.
Or Scary Movie.
Scary Movie, yeah.
Damn it, fuck yeah, man.
God, we're all
Andy walked me right into it. He was holding my hand, and before I knew it, I was falling like Wile E. Coyote.
You thought you knew movies? You don't know shit.
I love Scream, and I love Scary Movie. To use
Tim did the Scary Movie tour.
He got me.
Well,
Jenny
enough
got
about
me.
all of that. This is the Kinda Funny Gamescast, where each and every week we come together to talk about video games and all the things that we love about them. Of course, you can get it on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, or you can get it on roosterteeth.com if you want it as a podcast. Just search for Kinda Funny Gamescast on your favorite podcast service, and we'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free, if you want to get the show live as we record it, and if you want to get the show with the exclusive post-show, you got to go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like Omega Buster, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian, the gluten-free gamer, James Hastings, Casey Andrew, Elliott, and Tom Bach have all done because they are our Patreon producers. And because of that, they won't have to listen to our ads that are coming up later in the show, including ExpressVPN, Upstart, and Credit Karma Money. But for now, I want to begin with a segment I want to call the Andy Was Right Apology Tour 2021. I never said you were wrong, but in the last week or so, I have played, not completed, but played a good amount of Boomerang X and Lego Builders Master Builders, what the fuck?
Builder's Journey.
Lego Builder's Journey, and you should all get it right, even though I didn't, because it is a fantastic video game. Whoa, guys. These are both really, really high quality video games for very different reasons. Don't want to go on too long about this because I know we already talked about it on previous Gamescast, but just for the Tim Geddes perspective real quick, just want to say from the opening moments of Lego Builder's Journey, you're just like, wow, this is something special. And it's everything adding up to being more than any one Lego brick, Greg Miller, can mean. Okay. Ooh. But like the way that the music and the I want to say dialogue, it's not even dialogue. It's like just the words that pop up to kind of like explain to you what to do, which there's very little of. But when it's there, the font choice, Andy, I am sure you will agree, it's just perfect. They know what they're doing.
It's aesthetically pleasing.
They created an atmosphere that kind of is everything I'm looking for in a video game in terms of like, it is fun, it's engaging, it is beautiful and just serene. And you're just going through this, having a good time. And then all of a sudden you're getting hit in the feels.
How'd you feel when that title card hit?
Oh my God. You already set me up for it and I didn't expect it. Like it's one of those things that is that good that no matter how spoiled you are, it doesn't matter. It's not going to spoil the experience. Like, it's just pure emotion. This is video games like really doing something that I love, which is just, hey, they don't need to just be platformers or just be shooters or just be this or that. It's like they can be this like thing that just makes you feel something, you know, but also being fun and engaging and like really kind of captivating. So shout out to them. And Boomerang X, this might be hyperbolic for as early as I am in this, but like I'm getting major Portal vibes from this thing. And maybe it's not gonna like blow me away with like the twists and reveals and shit that Portal had, but from a sheer moment to moment gameplay.
Let me just say, no, it won't.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But like I'm not expecting that. And I wasn't expecting it from Portal either till it did it. But like with this, just it is so fun, and there is a frenetic energy to the movement that it is to call it Portal is obviously a ridiculous compliment, but I also feel like it's taking away from other things this game does so well. Like just the sheer creativity in the momentum of moving around this, the acrobatics you're going through. And Andy, I listened to your advice. This is a very good game to kind of teach you mouse and keyboard a little bit better, to kind of get you more into that world. Plus, I see you're nodding. I know that you played on Switch. Did you go back to PC like you were going or talking about?
No, I'm not done it yet. But the more I see the game again, the more I'm like, I gotta replay this on PC, because I loved my Switch experience, but there was definitely something there in terms of this doesn't control perfectly. Like this does not feel like it's built for Joy-Con or gamepad in a way that on mouse and keyboard it probably plays way more smoothly. And I've seen people shout out the gyro controls, which I tried out a little bit. It just didn't work for me either. I don't know why I couldn't wrap my mind around them, but I'm definitely with you that I wanted to go back and try it just as a way to get more acclimated to mouse and keyboard, because it definitely does seem like that kind of game, especially with how much is going on at any single time in the game.
Yeah, and something that I didn't really expect is, obviously when it comes to mouse and keyboard, I got down. It's the keyboard part that is really difficult. The game does a good job to kind of ease you in, to teach you like the movement of the WASD, of like feeling comfortable moving in that
as
space.
Kevin calls it.
Kevin calls it ASWAD.
ASWAD. It's WASD. Everybody's always known it as WASD.
Shit.
He calls it ASWAD.
I mean, no, he is wrong, because there's not even two A's.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah,
the second A
He's
is silent.
wrong in every way. But what is right?
So you want to say ASWID?
it's
WASD.
It's WASD.
ASWAD makes more sense, and you know it. Don't
No, it doesn't.
The second A is silent. I'm with Greg and Kevin here. As
Think about how stupid you sound if you walk around
serious?
saying ASWID.
No, they're doing a thing, man.
The second one isn't an A; it's the triangle where all the buttons are. You think fourth dimensionally, all right?
WASD makes me think of Wally.
Keyboard.
Yeah.
WASD.
ASDW. Connect them in a triangle. There it is.
There's no way you get to the W last.
The A is the triangle.
They're doing a fucking thing.
The English language is a fucked up language, so we gotta understand that there are certain things that don't seem like they fit into certain rules. ASWAD is one of those
Both
things.
of you
The
are
second
such
A is silent.
disappointments.
The second A is
Look at
silent.
who you're. Do you want this man as your teammate? Do you want this man as your teammate?
Greg
This
and
is the
Kevin.
same man that Greg just promoted me to leader on the Kind of Funny GTA Online crew, and so I got no complaints here. I'm gonna side with this man till my death.
I can take it. Yeah, exactly.
Can you
No,
do
he
me a
understands what's
favor?
up.
And can you bring up an image of a keyboard so we can look at
I'm
this
on
and
it.
talk
I'm on
about it like adults?
Can somebody do a Wally impression and say Wally?
Wally.
WASD. What was that for, Bless?
I don't know,
You
man.
forgot what side you were on.
Every time you guys say
I
Wazzy,
got
it makes me think of the Wally thing.
So here's my thing. You look at this, and if you didn't know that WASD was a thing, which obviously that's just how a lot of terminology happens. Like someone says it, someone else says the same thing, and all of a sudden it's a thing, right? So I get that we are now generations into this as gamers, that like WASD is a thing. We know that. But like, I don't understand how anyone could look at this and be like, yeah, ASDW. Like, it's
Not even DW. Not
A-
even DW. ASWD is what Kevin thinks.
ASWAD.
You're just
As
reading
wide.
from left to right. I don't understand.
Exactly.
I don't
Right to
understand
left,
what's
and then
crazy
you go
about this.
up. Look at it. So just
No,
trace
that's
the
not
line.
left to right.
no,
Left to
'cause
right
that
would
would
be
be
Connect the
Asda.
dots. W to
Oh
A,
my God.
W to D, connect to the S, and you got an ASWAD.
Y'all got
right?
some fucked up brains.
like I understand if you were to be like AWSD. That there's an argument to be made there. But I still think that the way that a keyboard works, you start from the top and you work your way down as you're reading. That's how you read things.
That's American culture. You know,
Exactly.
Like, you don't read
Kevin's
manga that
worldly.
way.
That's
You read manga from right to left. Every
American
country does it
keyboard.
differently. Every culture does it differently. I don't know why you guys are trying to bring your American culture into this, but
Imperialist,
call
that's
it
why, you
Boomerang
know,
X,
colonialists.
pretty cool game. Pretty cool game.
It's awesome, and that's the thing is like I love how much is on the mouse. Like I love how much the most of the buttons and abilities you're using, which are constant. Like I love throwing the boomerang, jetting to where it is, being able to stop the time. That's with the keyboard, but the right button and left button usage on the mouse is so awesome, so intuitive. I am very impressed with this game. Love the sound. Love the way that it looks, all of it. It is really, really rad. And I was sold on it even just looking at the videos and Eddie talking about it, but playing it, like, it just feels so good and it is so fast. I didn't expect that the speed of every single thing that you're doing. And I love that you're just moving on to challenge after challenge. You learn the basics and then they're just like, cool, we're just going to throw them all in together at the same time and you're going to have to figure it out. And that's where the puzzle elements come. Really, really nailing it. Then, Blessing, what's up?
I want to give a shout out to Devolver Digital because this is another Devolver Digital game. And also I want to give a shout out to Blessing super fun game release calendar because this was on there. But this I feel like is the quintessential Devolver Digital game in terms of what they're so good at, which is this is a game that I beat in under 3 hours, and it is a fast-paced. You go in, you have a little life, right? But you can take out enemies in one hit, usually, maybe a little bit more, depending on what the enemy is. And you're going into these different rooms. You're in and out, and it's a fun, frenetic experience. And they tend to publish games that have a lot of similar vibes in terms of that, right? Like I think of Ape Out, I think of Katana Zero, I think of Hotline Miami, I think of plenty of games that have short length, but in that short length, these games tend to do a lot and tend to go for it, both in terms of fast, fun gameplay, but then in terms of cool art style and all this stuff. Like they know how to pick them. And I know we're going to talk about Death's Door in a little bit, which also I believe is Devolver Digital.
It is Devolver, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, they as a publisher, they're absolutely killing it. And again, like this year too, when you talk about Boomerang X, and you talk about Death's Door, and then also Phantom Abyss, which I've not played yet, but I've heard good things about. Like again, they're having another year, which is great to see.
Yeah, and they've definitely another year because they've had many great years, but I do think that so far, and like years are weird depending on where you want to start counting them, but like from Fall Guys to now, it's like, wow. They're really, really doing something spectacular. And with that is the transition I want to make into talking about Death's Door. I don't have too much to say about it except some real top level shit because I'm still really early. But everything that I've seen Andy say so far on Twitter, I watched a little bit of his Let's Plays as well from his streams. And I could not agree with him more. Andy is right. Apology Tour 2021. This game is so special. As an old school Nintendo fan, obviously Nintendo fan through and through all the way, and also a fan of highly designed things and like things that are like beautiful and sound great and all that stuff. This game is the Ori of Link to the Past, and I can't believe it. Like it really just kind of has that element of what I love most about Ori is that it takes so many things that I loved about old school 90s games, modernizes them in so many ways in terms of like how fluid the movement is and the amount of things you can do. Like, but you think back to 2D platformers like Mario, and it's like you're shooting the fireball, you get a different power up, then you have the cape, and you're always limited to what your moveset can be. But like Ori kind of like opened that moveset to be more Metroidvania style. And we've seen that in many different independent games recently. But to take it to that next level of having the more like orchestral sounding soundtrack that feels like it's alive and with the game on top of all the creative uses of lighting and stuff. But really all that stuff's just on top of an extremely high quality game with boss fights that feel old school. And in all the good ways and none of the bad ways. Like that to me so far is my experience with this game. But I want to hear way more about what you have to say, Andy. Do you accept my apology?
Wow.
I do. First off, you need to play through and beat Hyper Light Drifter. You need to watch Nirvana the band, the show.
Oh, dude, I'm doing that. I've been doing that. Eddie's right, guys. Anytime Eddie's ever recommended something to me, it's been fantastic. So do it.
Well, I don't, Greg, the whole pepperoni pizza thing, Tim isn't super into that, so I don't know if we'll
I'm sorry. Tim, you're not into the Pepperoni Diplomacy Act of 2019?
I mean, look, I am into the Diplomacy Act. I do think that Andy's right about the act. I also think that pepperoni pizza is overrated, but that's just a totally different conversation.
Blessing, I know.
It's just too oily.
What? But so hold on, before we start having to mince words and do different things, you are in agreement that the pepperoni diplomacy act makes sense. You're ordering pizza. Don't get crazy. Order pepperoni pizza.
When motherfuckers are ordering pizza for a group and they start, if you get anything with white sauce, if you get anything with like too much vegetables, it's like, what are you doing? This is
pepperoni.
This is not what people expect.
The one pepperoni that gets,
and I get that.
The one pepperoni that gets ordered, it's all gone in 2 seconds, and then I go back. I'm like this. All right, I guess I'm
bean
stuck
sprout
with
pizza.
Yeah, I'm stuck with bean sprout and goddamn rice or some shit.
Like pizza with a bunch of leaves on it.
Yeah, this cheese is made out of rice.
Nobody wants a salad. I'm here to eat pizza.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Dude, this game just so good. This game is great on so many levels. I am 15 hours in now. I beat it yesterday right before we recorded in review. I'm 95% completion done. This is the only game that I care about actually going to go find more stuff because it isn't overly difficult where you're getting your shit kicked in all the time if you do want to maybe explore more. It keeps on surprising me. It keeps on surprising me in the best ways where I would have loved this game and sung its praises and said, this game's amazing if I hit credits and that's all the game had to offer me. But the fact that I can go back and there are still a lot of things to discover that you don't necessarily even discover when you're playing the game. This is like all just sort of post-game stuff that is so impressive. And when developers are willing to do that, I don't know. It's just, you get so many more special marks from me because this is like, it's so special to have that for a $20 package. For this to be a $20 game and have such attention to detail. The world is so much fun. The combat's a blast. It's like they took the sort of combat from Hyper Light Drifter and combined the exploration and level design of Souls games and Legend of Zelda games. You're always being rewarded whenever you want to explore. It's just like, it's the total package, dude. And
now here's my question for you, Andy.
As I was playing, I just want to say this real quick. As I was playing it, I was like, this is the game Tunic wants to be. And I don't know if Tunic will be that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Now you say so for people who haven't had the chance to play this, I've only been able to play like an hour and a half of it. You say you're always being rewarded. What do you mean by that? Because right now, early in the game, of course, I'm going through, I'm beating up guys, I'm getting my whatever the currency is. I already forgot to go back to the thing, right, and upgrade my guy and make myself more powerful. Is that what you're talking about, or is there stuff beyond that? Are there more weapons?
There are weapons that you can continue to find. There are trinkets that you find that I didn't know were really tied to NPCs until right before I went on, or right after Gamescast. I had walked up to an NPC who I've seen a lot of the time, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but suddenly NPC wants to fight me because something about this trinket drove them crazy. And I was not expecting a boss fight to happen right then and there, and it's stuff like that it really is the Dark Souls thing of, oh, I've had this item forever since the beginning of the game, and you happen to talk to the right person and they go, whoa, what the fuck? And it opens up a brand new branch of dialogue that they end up telling you about, and then that triggers something else in the world. And when you are willing to go above and beyond like that, you just have a really good game on your hands, especially when the rest of it is already so goddamn good. Level design, though, good lord, the music, everything is so fantastic, dude. Holy shit, Tim.
The game is so cool.
Tim, I want you to beat this game because the music near the end, like the last 3 hours of the game, the music's fantastic throughout, but the last 3 hours, I was like, dude, they're not stopping. They're not pulling punches right now. I can't believe the music I'm listening to right now and how everything is ramping up. The final sequences are so fucking sick. It tells a really cool, creative story. And this is like immediately in my game of the year sort of conversation where I think that they, for as small of a team as they are, with the amount of resources that they had, they knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah, it's 2 people working on this game, right? Mainly?
Mainly,
Acid Nerve is made up of 2 people, but in the interview on Xcast, they had said like they had like 3 or 4 people supporting them in various different ways. So.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Barry. You said that there's an interview on the Kind of Funny Xcast with Acid Nerve about this Game of the Year candidate?
Yeah, we talked about Titan Souls and going from Titan Souls over to this game and all that great stuff that went into both of those games. So yeah, go check that out. Kind of Funny Xcast
and or watch.
from 2 weeks ago. So I think that was episode 49. design if you want to go check that out. Because we wanted to interview them because we knew this was going to be a special game. And like the second Paris saw this, he was like, I need to talk to these developers because this game looks rad as hell. And we were all right.
I had already mentioned this on Games Daily. When I made that stupid video about the whole Hyperlight Drifter thing, like where I kind of put myself into the fake interview with the developers and because they mentioned that the combat is very influenced by Hyperlight Drifter, and it 1000% is, but they took it the extra mile of saying, because in Hyperlight Drifter, when you attack an enemy, you get back ammo, and that's the constant sort of that little Doom kind of method of defeating enemies and getting back ammo for your gun, so you could shoot them one more time, go in for a couple more slashes, and that's sort of the rhythm you find yourself playing with. And they took it an extra step of saying, well, what if some of these weapons are also meant for traversal, and how do we sort of expand upon that? And to go back to your question, Greg, about how does this game continue to reward you?
Yeah.
A lot of it is also that Metroidvania, Legend of Zelda style thing of, oh, I have this fucking thing now. There's a lot of places back there in the first level that I haven't been to in a while that have a lot of these areas that I can explore now because I have certain things to get me there. And that's me just talking in super vague terms, so I don't spoil anything. But I mean, classic video game type stuff, but it's always so good and it's always so clever. And I have had so many of those moments of falling down a hole and I go, oh, fuck, I'm here now? God damn, that is some good, delicious level design, you know? Oh, I'm hungry. I got an appetite for level design and they're feeding me right now, you know?
Sure. Force feeding you tube dangers there. I love it.
Barrett, can you go back to the footage of the boss fight with the house? It looks like it was really
boss
early.
fight with the house.
It's the big castle boy. This is all my gameplay right here. All this pro gameplay here.
Oh, you gotta love it.
Wow.
Gotta love it.
I
Beating
thought
all
that was
these
official.
beating all these boss fights with just
Straight
one
from
health.
Devolver.
Yeah, I thought that was from them. Holy cow. Yeah, when you talk about how small the team is that works on this game, the animation is something I wanted to shout out because this doesn't look like a small team. Like this animation with the boss fight right here with the tall castle, like this looks fantastic in a way that I would never have guessed a team like this would have worked on. Like for me, jumping into this game, I got excited about it, not necessarily because I knew what the gameplay was like. I got excited from seeing the art style because I believe this is one of the games that was revealed at E3, or at least shown off at E3 in some form. Seeing the gameplay there, but then also knowing that these are the same folks behind Titan Souls, that was the thing that sold me. And so jumping into it, I was like, all right, cool, let's see what this thing is. And I was shocked when I realized that it is basically, Zelda meets a Dark Souls game. And the way that they balance those things and the way that the game actually manages to feel like it's super quality moment to moment when you're having boss fights like this. And it seems like there were a lot of boss fights in the game so far, at least for where I'm at. I'm like 2 hours in or so. I'm very impressed with it. I'm blown away by this game.
It just keeps getting better. And I do want to shout out that David Fenn and Mike Foster are the two main people there. And David Fenn does game design, level design, production, music, and sound. And then Mark Foster rather does game design, programming, story, and writing and animation. And then you'll see some people getting contracted out to do 3D modeling or some other animations most likely, but some promo art, UI art, things like that. But good Lord, like when you think about the idea, when you're near the end of the game and realize, holy shit, the person who made this amazing music and soundtrack also did animation or whatever the hell else. Like it's mind blowing. It's so fucking it's amazing. This game's so good.
A fun little tidbit from that XCast interview. They were talking about like working with one of the artists that they contracted out, and that artist had mentioned that they really liked working with them because this castle boss right here was just like a fun little design that they didn't even think like would make it into the game, and they saw it immediately and were like, oh yeah. And that artist was like, oh, that kind of stuff never happens where they just immediately see something and they're like, oh, yeah, this needs to be in our game. Yes,
Greg
Greg.
Miller from Kind of Funny.
Andy Cortez, #1 games journalist, the Nitro Rifle, Twitch streamer. As you progress through this game, what does the difficulty get like? Of course, Titan Soul is a game I adored on my handheld PlayStation system of yore. But it was one of those things, right? There was only so many Titans, and they were there to you really, really beat the shit out of you until you could beat them. Do you have that vibe throughout the rest of this game? Because right now, playing it where I am again, super early, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I died there, but I know I know why I died. I should come back and do X, Y, and Z.
I never felt overly, scared or worried about the difficulty. And obviously, like, it's me you're talking about, right? Like, come on, guys.
Come on.
Let's be honest here. I beat Ornstein and Smile in one try on Dark Souls 1.
that true?
But that's true. That's true. But,
Wow.
But no, I think that is one thing that keeps me going back and wanting to go back is that if I were to beat a Souls game, I wouldn't really necessarily want to keep on exploring to find the extra stuff because I don't want to keep getting punished and running into the one mob guy who like comes out of the corner and just hits you in one shot and you're dead. It's those moments that I don't love about Souls games. But in here, I'd say the bosses are they are about as difficult as what you would expect from Titan Souls. I don't think that they are so overly crazy or whatever. There are moments, though, where there are a lot of mobs and they are sending a lot of smaller enemies at you. And not only are you dodging melee attacks and trying to run away, but you are also dodging projectiles coming at you. One thing to keep in mind, though, you can hit back a lot of projectiles. So that is like word to the wise. You will always be able to swing back and knock a little like fire blast or whatever the hell back to enemies, except for bows, bow and arrow.
Power battles.
I tried to take your advice,
power
Andy, on that projectile thing because you told me that the other day, and then I tried to do it on an arrow and learned the hard way that it doesn't work with arrows. But it did help me. That advice did help me with a boss fight that I just finished earlier today. So thank you.
Yeah, that was one where I was like, I kept on trying to. It became sort of bullet helly in a way where there's a circle wave of all these sort of projectiles flying at you. And I was like, oh, let me try to run in between them or whatever. And I kept getting hit and I realized, oh shit, I had just attacked by accident and knocked back a lot of projectiles towards the boss. And then it became very, very easy from that point. But
do you get more mobile as the game goes? Because that's been one of my small complaints so far is that I feel very immobile when it comes to a lot of boss fights, and I want to dodge back and forth like I'm playing Bloodborne, but I feel like I can't roll fast enough or get far enough or go quick enough.
It all depends on how you upgrade. There are 4 things to upgrade. You can upgrade your strength, you can upgrade your dexterity, which is the speed of your attacks. You can upgrade your overall speed, which is not only your running speed, but the amount of dodges that you could do in succession. Like the cooldown will get a lot smaller the more you upgrade your sort of speed. And then the last one is your magical powers, which are any of the things that you might unlock. The first thing you have is that bow, that pink bow that you've seen all over the trailers or whatever. And you can upgrade that and keep getting more powerful with that. And then on top of those 4, on the top left, you will see when you're playing the game that the bow is on the top button, which is you're set to a D-pad. And then you unlock 3 other abilities, but then there are further upgrades on top of those 4 abilities that you end up finding throughout the game. And that's comes down to more exploration. I will say the overall leveling up process very slow. Like
I was wondering about that.
That's what
it takes
like,
a lot of time to get 1 XP point, and then you're like, sweet, cool. What's next? And then by the time you look down, and it's 400 to upgrade, and you're still at like 110 souls. You're like, fuck, man, this is taking a lot longer than I thought. But the more you explore, you will find big pink orbs that are worth 100 that give you a lot more pieces to spend on. And again, the thing that I was most surprised by with this game, and I think they had already done an interview and talked about it, but I didn't, or they had done some article that was not the XCast interview, but I thought this was a Souls game. I thought if you die, you lose all those and you have to go back and get them, and you don't. You just get to keep them, which is really nice and forgiving because sometimes that can be a pain to just get sort of sideswiped by an enemy, and next thing you know, you've lost 400 pieces of currency that you could have upgraded with. So it's a good game.
Fantastic.
I'm so excited to keep playing. And like, honestly, I mentioned Ori earlier, but like just playing through it and seeing and hearing you talk about it and like seeing more footage of it. If you haven't played Will o' the Wisps from last year, like I really recommend everyone go back and play it, especially if you have Game Pass now. It's so easy. You can just get it, play.
Best
But
value
it's
in
the
gaming.
it's the same level of just quality that I'm experiencing in a different genre. Like that is more Metroidvania. This is more Zelda isometric kind of modern 2D Zelda in a way that Zelda hasn't ever even been, you know? And I think that's kind of the greatest compliment I can give it so far from playing it is that we haven't even experienced a Zelda like this yet. And I think it is more action oriented in a way that I can't wait to get back to play it. Like honestly, once we finish the show, I'm going to get right back to playing Death's Door. As much as I'm loving Boomerang X and Lego Builder's Journey, Death's Door is the one that I'm like, damn, there's
That's
something
what you can't wait to play.
real
Yeah.
special here.
And yeah, I saw on How Long to Beat, they tweeted out that the game comes in at around 6 hours. Is that true? Because you said you're 15 hours in. Like, is it just that there's so much to do after you beat it, or are you taking your time more? Like, how does that shake out?
I am taking my time because, again, it takes a long time to upgrade, and that takes a lot of exploration. But I'm totally for it. One thing the game does really great is, well, first off, on the time to beat, when we got the review code, Greg sent me all the sort of information that Devolver sends you, and they said they estimated 8 to 10 hours. I beat it at around 12 because I was doing a lot of exploration, and I'm still at like 15 now because I've just kept on playing. But one thing that the game does really great is there are some characters you might meet that say, hey, I heard there's a secret in this area. Go check that out. And just using those old school kind of video game clues of, in the similar way that when you would play Link's Awakening and replaying that a couple years ago, and then them mentioning, oh yeah, that rooster fucking, what's that rooster sign where it has like the northeast and west, and they mentioned that there's a hint there, and you go and you try to figure some mystery out there. This game is loaded with moments like that, and it feels so fun and satisfying when you do kind of figure out, oh shit, I could do this. No way. Holy fuck, I finally got the thing that I've been seeing on the map forever, but I've never known how to get to that portion of the map. And there are a lot of different ways to explore, and that a lot of my time went to that, to be honest with you. But it never felt annoying. I did it all because I wanted to keep on upgrading, because it just feels good. It felt rewarding.
Yeah, I guess it sounds like it is what you make of it.
Because I was saying Link to the Past, but you just bring up Link's Awakening. Like I'm early, so like I don't really know the difference yet. But you saying that, I like that. I think that Link's Awakening fits this vibe a lot better than Link to the Past does in terms of design of the game, where Link's Awakening is a lot more kind of moment to moment, where you make this revelation, it immediately hits you where you're like, I know exactly where I need to go. That was a thing that I didn't have access to that I can get to. Whereas Link to the Past is a lot more dealing with the two different worlds and kind of like, you know, the map, you know exactly how to get everywhere you're going at all times. So that's actually even more exciting to me playing this game.
I will say, though, the reason why this game will ultimately be one of the worst games of the year, the font. Not a huge fan of the font. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
really?
Acid
I don't like
Nerve.
it either.
I'm into
Anytime
it.
a boss pops up
Big
and
deal.
the big font hits, I'm not a fan. Not only of the font style, it seems like it may be vertically stretched, which is like a big no. You
don't
cannot
do
vertically
that.
stretch a
And you
font.
can't have that.
It may
You
not
can't
be
have that.
vertically stretched. That's just what it seems like. But the kerning, oh good lord, the kerning on this font, holy cow! There might be the letter W, and because of how the spacing is, it's like that looks like two words, but it's one word. What's going on right there, Acid Nerve? So terrible game.
This
No,
guy's
but real talk, Andy's joking right now, but like font means so much. And like, yeah, look at this. Like, that's not hype. That looks very just placeholder.
I totally disagree.
Really? 'Cause,
Whenever-
like,
dude,
I'm talking
whenever
about the
text
Lego
pops
Builder's
up-
Journey, it's so good.
Yeah, whenever it pops up, I'm like, even meeting a pothead right here. Like, whenever it pops up, it's either
Spoilers.
like, yeah, spoilers,
love
I
a
guess,
pothead.
but
Lives
big
with a
boy
couple.
pothead over here. Like this moment when it pops up and it's like big text and it pops up, like it's funny. I feel that kind of moment there, and then like going to the Guardian of the Door and stuff. Like, I feel that epic moment. I feel the text like heightens that a little bit too, and like
See, I
whenever
think
you
that-
die and stuff, and it like spells out death around like the kind of image and stuff. Like, I don't know, I totally disagree there.
That's my thing is I think that's cool, and
Oh,
I think
it's
death
fine.
especially is the cool thing. I think when you get into dialogue, that's where I'm totally with Andy. That I think the dialogue text isn't that good looking.
I think when like I don't mind it popping up. I love shit like that. Oh my gosh, the amount of
Yeah.
times and we're watching like Guardians of the Galaxy or Infinity War and the location font pops up like, oh, that's so sick. Or even in Control. Control does it immaculately.
Yeah.
When you enter a new area and it's poof, and it's just this dope ass text. It's just the font style. I'm just being a little picky bitch though. It's not only the font that they chose, but also kind of making it look tattered and kind of
Worn down.
dirty looking.
Yeah.
Just not a big fan, Acid Nerve. I'm
See,
sorry.
the-
You've
the-
lost me. You've lost me.
Damn,
the death
everybody, you
font-
had him right there. You had him in the boat. You had Game of the Year on the boat for Andy, and it slipped away right through your fingers.
The
That's
death font, I think, is fine.
The death font I think is cool as fuck. Like that's
Yeah.
the only thing that makes me not rage out when I die. Is I'm like, oh, I get to see this cool thing. 'Cause
No, but then
it
I
has
see the
cool style to
NPCs
it.
like
It's still
teabagging me
going.
like in a post
Yeah.
death like camera, and I'm like, ah, fuck, I don't want to see this guy on my body.
God
Fuck
damn it.
that guy. Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to some of the character design is really cool in this game. Like earlier on, you shouted out Pothead and showed him on the screen. I think Pothead is a fun one, and then there's some other characters that I've met so far as well that I think are just really excellent in terms of how weird and creepy they can get and how like off they can get, but also they're adding a lot of big personality to this world that is a fantasy weird world, you know, where you play as a crow and you're walking around with an umbrella. You know, like it's a weird world from the get-go, but the characters that they add in who are supposed to be central parts of the world that you interact with a little bit more, I think do stand out and are really cool. And so I want to give that a shout out. And also the fact that I think this game is going to be the one that puts Acid Nerve on the map for real. Like Titan Souls, very good indie game, a game that I think plenty of people liked when it came out, but I think this one is so far on another level in a way where
100%.
I think that this takes them
Totally.
from being, oh yeah, they worked on Titan Souls to now being, oh
Well-
shit, I can't wait to see what they do next.
And you figure this is the power of what's happening. This is, I obviously you guys have played more of the game, so I want to step off on that front. But as somebody who played a lot of Titan Souls and really enjoyed Titan Souls was here's an indie game. Here's an indie Vita game that you could be playing, right? And I know it was other places, but for me it was, right? And so that became, I think, one of those, the indie movement's so huge right now. There's a million great games, and Titan Souls was great, but it wasn't one that I would say you'd go out of your way to be like, you have to play this, you have to do this. And I think what you see with that store is them graduating to another level. And I think part of that comes from the agreement with Xbox and the fact that Xbox got behind it to market it the way they have. And then it's the fact that it looks the way it looks, it plays the way it plays, and it feels the way it feels. And that's something like, we've talked about, since Paris saw it or since any of Andy saw it. I mean, this has been a standout of every showcase it's been a part of. And that's even when people aren't talking about who developers behind it are. I think when we found out it was Acid Nerve, we found out that, these are the people who made Titan Souls. You suddenly had shit. All right, cool. This is their next thing. Let's see what they learn from Titan Souls, which was a pretty basic game in terms of, hey, go after these Titans, to now, hey, what are we going to do for a multi-hour experience that's going to tell you some kind of narrative and also be something like a link between the world, or a link to the past.
And I'd mentioned how this is kind of the game that I think Tunic is wanting to be when it comes to presentation and just overall polish. Because when I play Tunic, very cute game, fun combat, way more Soulsy though than this. This is way more in line of like Hyper Light Drifter, fast action, you're slashing, you're dodging away. Tunic is way more of that sort of, I need to strategize here and I'm locked onto the enemy and I wait for the attack, then I go in.
Slowly
is not
think
really
about
that.
everything that you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not really that, but that looks like it's a game made by a couple people. This doesn't. This, and obviously we already talked about the extra people who worked on this, but the presentation and quality of
people, that's still a couple people.
Oh, for sure.
I laughed earlier. You're like, it's 2 people. Oh, actually, there was like 4 others that helped. It's like, okay.
I think that this game just looks like such a top quality game, and it doesn't feel like an indie whatsoever. And I think that just comes down to not only nailing the aesthetic, nailing the art style, having a unified idea for what these characters should be and how the world is around them, and everything just nothing feels out of place in this game. And I think that's so hard to do when you're obviously this early on making games and trying to figure out like, how are we going to make a game? We have a vision for this, obviously, but it's going to be so hard to nail it. And I think this game is just delivering, and it just keeps on delivering. And when this Gamescast is over, I'm gonna go back and try to find the extra stuff that I need because it's just so rewarding to do so. And I legitimately, I had ended the video. I have like my final video recorded, and I'm like, cool, thanks for watching, everybody. And I just kept on walking around. I was like, oh wait, holy shit. And there was a big sort of like, whoa, this is opening up so much now. What are the possibilities here? And I needed to go find out some shit. And it's so good. It's unbelievable.
I'm so sold. Oh my God, that's awesome, Andy. Like that just got me even more hyped.
Yeah,
so
it's really good.
Freaking cool. Before we move on though, let me tell you about our sponsors.
This podcast is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Guess what? You're on the internet and people are always trying to get into your data, so hide your data from them, right? Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like taking a call on a train or a bus on a speaker for everyone to hear. So I'll say what I'd say to anyone putting a private call on speaker in public transport. Don't be that person. Internet service providers like Comcast or Verizon know every single website you visit. And in the US, they can legally sell this information to ad companies and tech giants who then use your data to target you. ExpressVPN creates a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet so people can't peep your online activity. Just fire up the app and click one button. It works on phones, laptops, even routers. So everyone who shares your Wi-Fi can be protected. Secure your online activity today with expressvpn.com/kindafunny and get an extra 3 months free. That's expressvpn.com/kindafunny, expressvpn.com/kindafunny. Our next sponsor is Upstart. So many Americans experienced financial hardship in the last year. Upstart can help you regain your footing and get things back on track. Upstart is the fast and easy way to pay off your debt with an online personal loan. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high interest debt, or funding personal expenses, over 500,000 people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment. Upstart knows you're more than just your credit score and is expanding access to affordable credit. Unlike other lenders, Upstart considers your income and current employment to find you a smarter rate for your loan. You can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/kindafunny. That's upstart.com/kindafunny. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/kindafunny. And our final sponsor of the day is Credit Karma Money. Credit Karma has always been there to help you make better financial decisions, and now they want to help you even more. With a Credit Karma Money Spend account, you can be rewarded for good money habits. Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for making purchases. There's no minimum balance requirements, no overdraft fees, and free withdrawals from a network of over 50,000 ATMs. And when you make a purchase between July 1st and July 23rd, you'll be automatically entered to win $1 million. Right now, visit creditkarma.com/win money to open your free account and start winning instant karma. Go to creditkarma.com/win money to sign up for free and start winning instant karma. That's creditkarma.com/win money. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Incorporated, member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply. Again, creditkarma.com/win money.
Now that we're back, Greg, real quick.
Yeah.
You've been playing a whole bunch of games this week. A little
I
here, a
have
little
so many
there.
are redacted. It sucks. It's one of those weeks where I can't get out here and tell Blessing, guess what? Uncharted 5 is coming.
This is another one where it's not redacted, but you
it.
already talked about it somewhere. So I don't want you to go on too long. I want you to give the one top level pitch on Dark Pictures Anthology, Little Hope. And then everyone can go to youtube.com/kindafunnygames and watch PS I Love Yous to get way more in-depth thoughts.
Of course. Yeah. So the quick thing is, Poe came to town, my best friend, everybody knows, from the Kind of Funny podcast, to visit. And I laid out all the co-op games I had. I downloaded brand new stuff. I had a whole bunch of things for him to go through. And as I went through giving him my little presentation of what to play, he was like, what about this? When I got to Dark Pictures Anthology and explained Little Hope to him, he was like, all right, cool. And, PS I Love You. Yeah. The topic of the show is me and Janet talking about this and me apologizing in a joking fashion that people are taking way too seriously to Supermassive for the fact that I didn't like Man of Medan. I played through Man of Medan and I thought it was a miss and wasn't until dawn. And so I kind of put this on the back burner for literally a year almost a full year here. And then at E3, saw House of Ashes. It was like, oh man, I forgot about that. Forgot about Little Hope. And Poe and I, with a couple beers playing through Little Hope, had a ton of fun with it. And it is still what it is. I think it's better than Man of Medan, and we talk at length about it over there. But it is something that has got me so stoked for House of Ashes and just having that thing. And then also finding a new game to play with Poe, something we can still do, obviously, online and actually get an even different experience. So right now we're gearing up that he's gone back. He's got his save that he played Until Dawn with me watching and sleeping on the couch next to him. He played Until Dawn all yesterday and Sunday night. He's got a save in the cloud. And then, we're going to actually go back when he gets there, get back. We're going to do a run through of Man of Medan together. Then we're going to do another one of Little Hope to see if we can get the better ending and then keep on going.
Love it.
But P.S. I love you. Way more to talk about over there.
Before we move on, I just something needs to be addressed. Is what Greg tweeted out just a little bit ago, which is really disappointing.
I was here with a bunch of people who can't see what I'm saying, so I had to go to the whiteboard and write it out. I'm with Kevin. ASWAD greater than WASD.
And
I put it here. You can see the other A there. You can see the other A.
Here.
Simon Cardy should be in bed right now. All right.
Get fucked, Greg.
Holy shit. Greg, you added an A.
That's the other A.
The A's always been there.
You're all saying, why are there
other
two A's?
A?
Why would Kevin show it again? Show it again, Barrett. Why would Kevin do it? Because again, there's an A that unifies all. A, S, W, then the A brings it back together.
I feel like you're really
there.
forcing this A shape.
Blessing understands it. You understand it. Tim's shaking his head or nodding his head. Yes,
It looks more like a tetrahedral
illustrated
T.
it. I don't know. You guys aren't seeing.
And he's wrong, but like he won me back.
God damn it, Tim.
Andy, bust out a $1 bill right now and show a little Illuminati
Andy,
pyramid.
you're
there,
adding
right?
more to it.
You gotta wake up. You're all sheep. You're all sitting here letting Bill Gates and the fat cats at Valve tell you what WASD is or isn't. I'll tell you about mine, ASWAD. And we are a revolution. We are taking the computer game by storm. And you might say, Greg, you got no horse in the race. But guess who has a Steam Deck reserved? I am the future of
doesn't even have a
PC
keyboard.
gaming, sir.
God.
And the future is ASWAD.
Andy, you're the only one who doesn't
I'm with
disappoint me
Greg.
on this show, so if we could just do the rest of the show just with Andy, that'd be great.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. But if we're not going to do that, can you please bring that up again, Barrett, please? Because I'm looking at this, and with what Greg just said, he won me over for a second, like as a joke, honestly, with the double A's because he added an A. But then I started to think about it, and when I apply my logic of how you read to a thing, there's no way that the double A's add up that way. You don't start with the A that he added if we need to add that to all of this.
Tim, you trying to put any logic towards it is like trying to tell people that like the earth is actually round. Like it's not worth the argument, okay? It's not.
I mean, my thing is, how else would you say it with the extra A? Like, how else?
Thank you.
Sadwa? You're not gonna say Sadwa. You're gonna say
Not to
ASWAD.
mention,
That makes no sense.
If we can be honest, if we can check all the jokes at the door. All right. The thing here is, you guys are trying to apply 21st century reading to what is clearly a 30th century thing, right? Because you read left to right, you read left to right. Sure, you do. What do you do when there's a letter at the top of the pyramid there? When do you go up to that letter? You'd think it's
down, left to
You'd
right.
think it's reader's choice, but that's not how we say words. So you have to get in there. You have to think that way.
Greg
You have
Miller.
to think that way. You know what I
P.S.
mean?
I love
This
you,
is a
cross.
book.
P.S.
got
I
a
love you,
book.
Crosssphere. That's what the show's called now. Crosssphere. I love the
Sphere.
Q button and the pyramid button as well.
Spheres are 3D.
Thank you,
Like,
Andy.
geometry.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Look,
That doesn't make
this
any
is
sense.
a book by
Uh-huh.
Mike Trucker that
Sure,
you can
crap.
buy right now on Amazon and other
Sure.
sites, but that's where I bought it. Silent Hill 2. It's the Boss Fight Books presents.
Go ahead. What's your affiliate link? Go ahead and shout that out. You sell out. What do you got? What are you trying to? Turn this into an
it's kind of
getaway,
funny.
huh?
I imagine it's kind of funny. But Greg, I'm going to open to page 97 here. A favorite of yours, I'm sure.
Of course.
When you read this,
Mhm.
it starts with up to down.
Sure.
Then you go left to right.
Sure.
So when you look at a keyboard,
Sure.
I mean, But I mean, think about how your fingers go and what defines a pyramid. A pyramid is defined by its top. If not, it's a bed. And so right there, we understand that the top has to be addressed at some point. It has to be important. We're putting it there. We're reading. We're going up. We're reading. We're reading. We're going up. We're reading.
Greg Miller, please tell me about your experience with Guacamelee 2 co-op mode.
Oh man, Guacamelee 2 co-op mode. Of course, Guacamelee 2, a fantastic game from Drinkbox Studios. We already knew that. Of course, the people who also made Guacamelee, Severed, a bunch of other games that only hardcore PlayStation fans know. And of course, we're coming up on Nobody Saves the World from them. Guacamelee 2, of course, a standout of one of the I think the first Kind of Funny Game showcase where we debuted a code and announced other platforms. The code, of course, unlocking shirtless arachnid person and his dog, wiener dog Portillo. Yeah, another one where that was the runner-up to the Dark Pictures anthology / co-op games we could play. And so as somebody who played through Guacamelee, I think I did it initially on Switch and then did a little bit on PlayStation and then never went back to it. It was fun to jump in with Poe and start a new game and go through and see, man, that game holds up. I mean, I think we take it for granted how good, or if you're a student of the game kind of thing, you take for granted how good Drinkbox Studios is at making games, and go back and play Guacamelee 2 and have it still be as irreverent, funny, colorful, enjoyable to play, challenging at times. That was the thing I wasn't expecting. Of course, if you don't remember Guacamelee 2 or Guacamelee, if Barrett can throw up some footage of it eventually, you are Juan. You are this Lucha Libre wrestler. It's the sequel to Guacamelee where you save the day, where 7 years later, you're back in there, and now you have to save the Mexiverse as they bring in all different versions of villains. You're the last one standing. They've gone through and killed all the other ones. And so you go through and clear these levels in a Metroidvania style game, right? You play through, but it's a beat 'em up on top of that, right? So you're going through using power moves, punching, throwing people, and then also platforming and using a bunch of different things. I remember when I was playing it initially, being like, man, of course, this is so good. The platforming is so good. The combat's so good. It was a new level of having to do it co-op where suddenly it is that, okay, cool, we're going, but we're sharing the screen. So I have to also pay attention to where Poe is. A lot of this is, as you see right there, if you're watching, these two different planes existing at the same time. So you're in the land of the dead, the land of the living. Sometimes there's an obstacle in one and not in the other. You have to go through and try to survive that way. And so it changed what Guacamelee 2 really was for me, right? Where I thought of Guacamelee 2 as such a platformer, brawler, something to sit there and really get lost and enjoy, and suddenly it became a little bit more strategic. And you can go up to 4 players, as you see here. It became more strategic doing it a 2-player co-op and going through and figuring it out. I don't know if I liked it more that way. I think I enjoyed, Poe and I horsing around and being able to talk to each other and screw around, but it was a little bit like sharing the thing. And then I was player 1, he was player 2, and it is one of those, you run ahead and that person will get warp to you, or they can get killed off screen or something like that. Easy enough to get back into the game with each other and stuff like that. And it didn't stop any of the boss fights or anything like that. But Guacamelee 2 is still a great game that I don't think I talked about enough at launch because there was something else to play at the time and yada, yada, yada. But I still love playing that game.
It was an unfortunate launch time, but I definitely encourage anybody who really likes Guacamelee 1 to check out 2. I love 2, I think, even more than I did the first one. There's so much great humor in it, and just even watching this trailer, I'd gone back and restarted a playthrough on Switch a few months back, and I kind of dropped off. But then watching this trailer and hearing you talk about it, I'm like, fuck, I want even in the midst of wanting needing to beat Death's Door.
There's so much to play right now, and then I'm the same way of damn, I started this and do I finish it? Do I see it all the way through on PlayStation?
There's so many great moments near the end of that game that the humor in the first one is really solid, but then a lot of the fourth wall breaking stuff that they do in Guacamelee 2 is
and that's the thing about it.
Good.
Playing it last night with Poe, it was that thing. And God, when did we do the first showcase, Tim? 2018? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it must have been.
Is this a 2018 game or whatever? So it's
wow.
I definitely, we were playing it and he was asking questions and I was like, I don't remember this. I thought I beat it on Switch and played a little bit on PlayStation, but maybe I did. It was one of those things. I have trophies on PlayStation for the early stuff. So I definitely played at least that much. But even last night, I was it was like a brand new game again, going through it outside of obviously knowing you have to use special moves, to break the red thing, do the uppercut, yada, 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 stuff like that. And the little Metroid things of okay, cool. Clearly, we can look at the map and know we can eventually go that way, but we can't go there yet kind of thing.
Very cool stuff. Now,
it is very cool stuff.
I want to talk about Metal Gear Solid
because
Barrett has been playing through it for the very first time. Snowbike Mike has been watching him play it for the very first time over on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, which we are streaming live every day from 11 a.m. Pacific time until,
just look at this.
couple
Just look at
hours
how
later.
look at this. Look at
Mhm.
this moment. The Psycho Mantis fight right now, ladies and gentlemen. PlayStation 1. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
God damn, son.
I
Yeah,
love
1998, baby.
This
I
was an interesting one
loved-
to experience on stream because I believe Barrett was playing it on PC, and so I had no idea what kind of advice to
Yeah.
give this man.
What are
during
they
this
gonna
fight.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I don't think I could if I wanted to, because I
Yeah.
have no idea how this goes.
I knew that before we get into like I feel like the greater topic as a whole, just to bring that up of like, yeah, like one of the few like legit ways to play Metal Gear Solid is on GOG on PC, and so like I had plugged in my controller, remapped my controller for button inputs that was like recommended on like the GOG forums or whatever. And then I knew about the whole player 2 controller thing eventually. I didn't know it was the Mantis fight, but I knew that like that was a thing. Like even though I'd never played Metal Gear Solid before and any other of these games besides Metal Gear Survive, there were like things that I would eventually hear talking to gamers like Greggy and Tim and all of you here that love the series, right? And so it was one of those weird things, playing it with a controller, starting off the Mantis fight with the controller, and then like them trying to like not spoil the whole like, hey, so like the original version, like you'd have another controller and you'd plug it in over into the player 2 thing to actually fight him so he can't read your mind. I don't know how to help you right now, kind of thing. And so like then I had to like go in and figure out the keyboard bindings, and I had to fight him all on mouse and keyboard, which was absolutely insane, but really fun at the same time.
Yeah, and it was
That
a
might be
bummer
even
playing
better.
Honestly, it was a bummer playing on PC as well because he didn't have the thing where Psycho Mantis would go through your memory card and do all that stuff. Or
So-
tell you to put your
someone sent me-
controller down. Yeah, or like put your controller on the desk.
Only
and
Konami games.
Let me move around your
Oh, yeah.
controller using the vibration. You didn't have those moments, but even still, like Metal Gear Solid, I'd say still holds up. Like I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 1 in like 9 years, and so it's been a while. And even going through moment to moment in this game, I'm like, yeah, I think you do this, but it's been so long since I remember. Actually going through the motions and watching Barrett experience it for the first time, it's been that reminder of like, man, even in 1998, so much of this writing is so cool and so epic. Not all of it aged well, of course. Like there's a lot of things in terms of like, oh man, Merle, when she walks, she shakes her butt like this, like that type of stuff.
She
like
has such
doesn't.
a cute way of walking.
She's
Snake
such
has
a cute way of walking.
Yeah, like that stuff's kind of weird moments, but I think outside of that, a lot of the cool just setup in terms of the introduction of Cyber Ninja and what his character is when you first meet Otacon, when you first meet any of these characters, honestly. The games have such a good way of just introducing new characters and just filling in their stories from a get-go that makes it go, oh shit. All right, I want to hear more from this person. I want to hear more from this. I want to hear more about this universe. I want to know more about these how they describe the Metal Gears, the mobile nuclear warhead. Like I want to know how all this works. Like there's so much cool world building that goes on in this game as just the first game in the solid quote unquote franchise that is going to lead into such cool things in the future. But even this as a standalone, I think has such cool stuff going for it that it's been such a pleasure going back to.
So with that, I kind of want to set this up where all of me, Andy, and Greg have played and loved and blessing the Metal Gear games forever. So doing this is interesting because it is Barrett and Mike's introduction to the franchise. Blessing is sitting in there watching and talking over and giving advice, and Kevin as well as they do their playthrough. But I got to say, Kind of Funny's been doing Twitch streams for this entire year so far. So we're half a year into this. And every once in a while, I'll get caught up in some stuff. And every once in a while, I'll get caught up in some bullshit of Andy and Nick and them playing Warzone. But I'm just there, like, having fun with them, right? But I have never been as, like, I need to watch this as I have been for this Metal Gear Solid playthrough of Barrett and Mike's first time with this game, because there's just something special about it. And watching it, I'm like, damn, I'm not playing right now, but I really feel like it still holds up. And it sounds like for all of us that have played it before, we all stand there. But now, for the very first time, Barrett, I want to ask you, as somebody that hasn't played the games, but in a very similar way to me with a lot of Nick's in review stuff where he's told me for years that this thing is good and all these old movies.
Iron
all
Man
this
1
shit.
is still the best because it was the first in the MCU.
Oh, I'm Nick. Take off your shoe.
That exactly. You guys nailed it.
Love when he said
Exactly what I'm trying to say right there. But with all of that, like I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, I understand the pop culture Family Guy references to X movie, Y movie, Z movie, right? But you have that for the video game Metal Gear Solid with this. You've heard the references, you know Psycho Mantis, you know the at some point you have to switch ports and all that stuff. Barrett, I need to ask you, does it hold up as a first-time experience?
I would say yes. And this is one of those things where it's interesting. This is like one of the few times where I've gone back to a PS1 era game that I did not play in my childhood and played as an adult, because at IGN I had to go through and play all of Resident Evil 1 because they wanted like one specific cutscene at the very end of the game. And so I had to like play through that.
What a great use of time.
Yeah, great use of gameplay capture time for IGN. And so playing through that, like that was like fun and interesting to go back to the Resident Evil history. Not something that like I like decided to love, or like it wasn't something that I loved playing through like that first for the very first time, but it was like an interesting like, oh, this is a piece of history. And that was like what I going into this I thought I was going to get, of like, oh, this is going to be such a cool piece of history to finally experience, and not like get anything more other than that. And like even in our first stream, Mike and I were like hooked, and we're making jokes, and Kevin won't shut up in the middle of a cutscene, so sometimes it's hard to like really get in. But like we're invested in like a lot of these characters and like what they're doing, and like why everything is so weird, and we expect to not have anything explained to us anytime soon. But like we're in it for like just the weird cinematic like feel it has, and the characters and all that stuff. Like I'm impressed. Like I'm honestly impressed, like playing this game and being like, damn, this is still like a really cool, fun game to play. What is it, like 23 years later, however many years later? Like it's cool. And like even like Mike and I were just like, all right, Metal Gear Solid, that'll be fun. And then like halfway through that first stream, it was like, now we're gonna prepare to like stream through the entire series, which like I'm so excited for, and I can't wait. Greg Miller from Kind of Funny. I thought you had.
I wanted to bring up like that it was such a relief to me, where you talk about a game that is so formative and means so much to me, and I know so many people. But of course, you also talk about a game that is 23 years old, 22 years old, whatever it is. And when you get there, right, it becomes that. All right, cool. Are they going to be able to get over the tank controls? Are they going to talk over it? You know what I mean? And not in a bad way. You're Twitch streamers. You're doing stuff. Like I popped in, obviously, in the first minute and a half of you guys doing it. I'm like, shut up. Everybody shut up.
Yeah. Because I think before I popped into that, because I was late, I think a couple minutes late to that stream, and Mike was like talking to the Twitch chat. He's like, you know what? Like we're gonna like try to get the talking out. We're gonna like watch the cutscenes and stuff like that. And 2 minutes in, Kevin is like talking over some shit.
That was the thing. At the beginning of the second stream, I was like, I was like, everybody, I know we're excited, but let's try to tone it down. Let's try not to spoil it.
Mike and I need to like get in the habit of like just talking for the first 5 minutes, just get all the talking out, and then once we get in the game, just get focused.
And so to see you guys react and pop for it and like be into it, like I'm right there with Tim, where I was doing other stuff for the company, and but I had it open and I was watching, and I was like so stoked to see you enjoy it, because it reminded me so much of earlier this year showing Invincible on Amazon Prime, right? To Jen and Lucy, and doing that whole thing of like, oh God, I really hope you like this. It means a lot to me. And if I don't know how it's like different, obviously apples and oranges, but like it was the same thing of Invincible. Like, I hope they're not bored. I hope they don't do it. And even watching you guys play it and being like, man, I remember when Poe and I, as high schoolers, started Metal Gear Solid on my PS1, late one night after renting it at Blockbuster. And when it felt like him swimming underwater and the credits rolling went on for like 20 minutes. And to see you guys just go, and like you were right there ready, fighting already, is like, fuck. Like this, you're talking about rose tinted glasses and like what my initial impression was versus what yours would be. I was so happy to see you guys.
I was so worried too, sitting there with them, because my thing was, I played the original Metal Gear Solid after I'd played other ones already. Like I had played Metal Gear Solid 3 first and absolutely adored it. And I think I started Metal Gear Solid 4 and then put it on pause because I got to a certain part.
You were doing chronological order, Bless.
Yeah, I was doing the what do they call it? Like there's a certain word for it.
Timeline order.
But I got to a certain part of 4 where I was like, I'm gonna pause this and go back and play the other one so I have more context for what's going on. And that's when I finally picked up Metal Gear Solid 1. I had gotten it. I had a PS3 at the time that, thank God, was backwards compatible and all that stuff, and started playing it there. But even at the time, I knew I was into it because I was already into Metal Gear Solid. Like, I was already sold. I was already full in on the story. And going back with the mind state that, okay, this is a PS1 game, you know, like I'm gonna have all those caveats going into it. I still enjoyed it, but sitting with Barrett and Mike, I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. You know, knowing that the controls are very much PS1 and there are going to be gameplay moments that probably don't hold up as well compared to later on games. Knowing there's that, knowing there are weird writing moments, and knowing that Metal Gear over the years, I think, has changed and evolved so much in terms of the kind of things they emphasize and the like how long they'll let a cutscene breathe and how they introduce characters and how they go about style. There's so much to it in terms of the design Bible of Metal Gear Solid that going back to the first one, I was like, okay, you know, like we'll see how this goes. Maybe if they're not enjoying it as much, I can just emphasize that, 2 and 3 you're gonna love for sure, and if you can get through 2 and 3, 4 you're gonna love for sure, and like, having that emphasis to it. But the fact that off rip, going into Metal Gear Solid 1, they were already sold. I was like, okay, bet. Like, just so you know, it just gets better and better and better with each game. Like, that's the magical thing about Metal Gear Solid. Like, you get to 5, and we can have a debate there, but in terms of quality overall, like it only goes up from here, which I think is one of the coolest things about Metal Gear Solid.
That is the one thing I'm scared of is Metal Gear Solid 4, because we got solid plans for 1 through 3. Like we're playing one on GOG.com GOG on PC. 2 and 3 I'm gonna do on Xbox, because those are like the solid ways to play the HD remaster. And then Metal Gear Solid 4, the one modern place I have to play it is PlayStation Now, and I'm a little concerned about that. But we'll see in streaming quality and stuff how that
I think I might have Kevin's PS3 and a copy of Metal Gear Solid 4. I have my own
the problem
copy.
is though, like you'd have to strip out the HDMI or HDCP. Yeah. Do our splitters already do that? I don't think so. Do they? I don't know.
We'll figure that out. Like,
IGN
this is the thing that we have to make happen, because like I'm right there with Bless. Like watching you guys play through so far, I am so stoked that you guys are sold despite it being an old game, because it is an old game. I've went back and tried to play Metal Gear Solid 1 because my history with Metal Gear Solid started with Twin Snakes. Like I did not play the original PlayStation game. So going back to the PlayStation game, I never beat MGS1 on PlayStation all the way through. It's always been, I've started it a bazillion times just for fun, like going back, but I'm like, oh man, like, I don't know why you'd ever do this when you could do the other version. And I know that's not necessarily a popular opinion, but seeing you guys play it and still, just because you're in it for the story, you're in it for all these things that are equal to this amazing gameplay that they do have, that is only held back by controls. It's not that the gameplay is bad. The gameplay is fantastic. The level design is fantastic. They knew exactly what they were doing. It's just, it was designed, if I remember correctly, before the DualShock even came out. Like, we're talking about analog stuff. Am I wrong about that, Greg?
You're right, I believe, but you figure my problem was I was joining PlayStation so late at the time. But yeah, no, you could play it with. Well,
I think you're right. I don't remember playing this on the DualShock.
Because this was on the PS1 Classic, and the PS1 Classic didn't come with the it wasn't the DualShock yet. It was just the analog buttons.
But then they added that thing where
Psychomantis can vibrate.
Like, put your controller down, we'll make that shit vibrate.
Oh God, yes, they did. And like, that's the thing, is I love this. The franchise just grows, and you talking about 4 makes me so excited, because without spoiling anything, it's like 4 really is the just kind of end game. It's not necessarily the Infinity War, but it's the end game of Metal Gear Solid. It pays off everything that's happened before story wise, and answers a lot of questions. And it might not answer them the best way, but like, you gotta get there.
But like, answer them.
But and I don't even mean that as a bad thing. I fucking adore MGS4. Like MGS4 is my favorite, period, of all the Metal Gear games. And it's like, in the same way that Endgame's my favorite of the MCU movies. Like, it's cheating, but it's also not. Like, they earned those fucking moments. So I'm so stoked that you guys have played it so far and have been like, yeah, we're committing to more, because you're gonna love it.
I'm counting down the days to get back to Metal Gear Solid 1. I'm so excited to continue.
By the time we get to 4, oh my God, like
the idea that
into it.
the idea that Snowbike Mike was so desperate to play this game and can't figure out a way to download it on his Vita, but his neighbor down the street has it on PS3, so he went to his place. Like that's going to lengths for a game this old, but still a game that holds up that well.
And a game that he had like already watched the first half
game
of.
it is.
Like he had already watched the first half, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to play through it on my own on the Vita." Like, yeah, we're both like super stoked. I have 2 questions though, because here's the thing, because I figure like 1 through 4 are gonna be manageable time wise and stuff for playing through on stream. I do know that like Metal Gear Solid 5 is a little more like open world kind of style stuff. So like, how long is that game going to be? Like, is that going to be like most of our journeys playing through just 5? And then the other question I have, because I wanted a committee here and not just the bias of Greg, is Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker necessary?
That's harder to play. Also.
See,
Peace Walker?
This might be controversial.
Like, how do you get it on stream?
Peace Walker HD is also on Xbox backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Floor is yours. Go
1 through
it.
4, required absolutely on stream. Like those games work together in such an essential way. I almost feel like 5 and Peace Walker need to be their own series where you take a break and maybe come back to those in some way. Because
I not agree with him more.
Yeah, like 5. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil shit. But it's the same story, but it's also separate enough. And though Peace Walker and 5 are different kinds of games in a way where I would take a breather before you go into them, because you're kind of going into a different story that is all part of the same story, if that makes sense.
And a totally different sort of philosophy in how the game plays as well, I would say.
Greg Miller, you are allowed off the bench.
No, I think that's a great way of putting it. I think the problem, though, is just that, I mean, you're talking about, we're talking about solid stakes story, right? When we talk about Metal Gear with 1 through 4. Yes, I understand Big Boss and Naked Snake. I understand that. But of course, that part is part of Solid Snake's journey, right? It's when you get into Peace Walker and 5 that it becomes more about Big Boss's stuff, right? That doesn't necessarily, even though there are ramifications, doesn't necessarily have the same ramifications onto Solid Snake the way what we're talking about right here. So if we're talking about taking a break or making it work and doing whatever, yes. The problem is I think you nailed it, Bless, in terms of a way that I wouldn't get mad at you about. Where if you're gonna put 5 off and say in the same breath as Peace Walker, that makes sense. It's the fact that starting 5, right? Like, how many characters would you not have any idea who they are because you didn't play Peace Walker? And then, granted, it's like, well, what does that matter to you? And yada, yada, yada. But if we're talking about what this game is overall, I think it matters.
Yeah. And throw Ground Zeroes in there, too. I know we implied.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I thought that was
you got it.
No,
You got it.
Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5 has to.
Yeah, I would almost think Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, Phantom Pain are their own streaming series.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is they are the same franchise, but they're so separate that MGS 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a story. You could end there and everything's fucking great. You move on to the Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, Phantom Pain. Those are fantastic in a very different way. They're debatably better in a different way. And that's what I love so much about MGS. It's just what you guys are so hooked on right now, the story, the characters, that's the MGS 1 through 4. I personally feel like the other narrative that we're talking about, there are elements there that still shine very, very, very high. But I think it's the flip of what we get with MGS 1 through 4, where gameplay is second to character and story. And the other side of gameplay is first, character and story are second. That's not to say that either are bad on either side. It's just that's how they compare.
Yeah, MGS 5, I would say, in my opinion, is the best stealth game I've ever played in terms of gameplay. It is so open. There's so much going systemically. It is addicting. The game the game reacts to how you play in certain places where I don't like. I guess this is like gameplay spoilers, but it's not going to spoil you, Barrett, in terms of your expectations or anything. But you get early on in the game, right? If you keep getting headshots, the characters will react later on. The enemies will react later on in the game and start wearing helmets or some shit, right? Or if you keep going out and attacking them in the rain, they're going to react to that because the game gives you so much choice in terms of how you want to go about infiltrating bases, how you want to go about missions, what time you want to go, what weather conditions. Do you want to choke everybody out? Do you want to Fulton everybody? There's so much choice in it, and the game reacts to it so well. And just as a pure video game, it is one of the best open world games, one of the best stealth games I've ever played. I think the story still good, and it's hard for me to compare it to other Metal Gear Solid stories, but I think there's still value there in terms of characters, in terms of dialogue, in terms of cool moments. That's awesome, but it is not a 10 out of 10 story. Like it is not that. But overall, I would say it's a 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah. So I'm right there with you. And I think, to the point we're making, personally, I would say Peace Walker is the closest to having, hey, we are making a video game. Here are a whole bunch of systems. Here are a whole bunch of things to do. You want to tackle this, with no shirt on and a rocket launcher. You want to tackle this in your stealth suit with everything, no kill. Great. But then also, I think the Peace Walker story works because it's cheating and pulling from Metal Gear Solid 3, right? It's a direct sequel to Metal Gear Solid 3. It is, hey, how would you react if you had to do what Big Boss had to do in that game, right? Like, what would the ramifications be? It's a smaller story contained to that one narrative beat that I think still works like a Metal Gear Solid story, but also has the gameplay like you're talking about for Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yes, and then to add to what Greg just said is he's so absolutely right. Peace Walker is fantastic, stem to stern, as Greg would say.
I would say that.
Yes, he would. But with all of that, it's like the story, the gameplay, all of it does add up in such a magnificent way. But I do think that it is different enough from 1 through 4 that it is more in the Ground Zeroes, Phantom Pain kind of like storyline that like I would put it in that like through line of titles. And I do think that it is easily the best story of that timeline. And the timeline's the wrong word, but like,
yeah, there's a weird branch thing because like I think Greg mentioned that like Peace Walker is a
different genre.
It's a sequel to it's a sequel to 3 in a way, but like it's that fun thing where Metal Gear Solid, you go 1, 2, and then 3 kind of has a branching off point where 3 feeds into 4, but 3 also feeds into Peace Walker and the other ones. And so like if you're
it's like
including
the
3 in that
Ocarina
branch,
of Time where like everything branches out after Ocarina
I mean, honestly,
yeah. Okay.
Like it's kind of similar to that. But yeah, like when you're talking about 3, Peace Walker, Phantom Pain, Ground Zeroes, then yeah, like 3 I would say has the best story of all those because I would say 3 has the best story of all of them. But if you're talking about just the Peace Walker in 5, Peace Walker for sure like is on another level. You're absolutely gonna need to play.
I love this.
Well, I'm excited.
I love that we're still talking about Metal Gear, guys. This is fantastic.
Okay,
is there a video game story that's better than Metal Gear Solid?
Everyone says it's convoluted. Everyone says all this shit. And you know what? I want to go off on a fucking rant right now.
Everybody, give Tim the floor. Give Tim the floor.
Any motherfucker out there that's like, convoluted stories of video games, Kingdom Hearts and Metal Gear Solid. I'm sorry. Everyone. Those are completely different things. Preach. Convoluted are words that you can use for both of them. But in one instance, it's a compliment. And in one instance, it's an insult. And I don't need to explain to you which is which.
Oh!
That's all I have to say.
Oh, okay, I thought it was going to be
Barrett, you all will be done with 1 through 4 by maybe 2022.
2022? Really?
No, maybe not that long. But I mean,
I was gonna say, like,
if we were streaming every day the same, it'd be a different story. But
like if we're doing like a stream a week or like whenever we need to fill in gaps, like I would say like I would be confident like at least beating 3, maybe even getting into a good chunk of 4 by before the end of the year.
Oh yeah, because MGS2 isn't that long, right? Like I beat MGS2 pretty quickly.
I'm reading here. Main story is about 13 hours.
Okay,
but
that's
know the way we stream. You got to consider that it's us who are streaming it.
MGS2 is going to be 5 streams in that case. And I would probably say MGS3 is probably going to be the same.
Metal Gear. Greg, finish this.
September.
Barrett. October.
Year.
Mondays is what I was
Metal Gear Mondays.
I'm sorry.
I was not there.
We gotta talk to some people. We don't want to step on the Warzone crew. You know what I mean?
No, but we
can't love your crew because I'm going to be there too.
Oh yeah,
we'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. You know what I'm talking about? Whatever.
I thought you were gonna say Metal Gear September, like Dongtober.
Yeah. I miss Donktober. Anyways, yeah, I'm counting down the days, y'all, because I left Meryl just like kind of on her own after getting shot several times, and now she's being
had to do it.
I gotta find a sniper rifle. I guess that's what the colonel says. Like, you need a sniper rifle, and that's where we are. And I just need to figure out. I just need to know what happens next.
I just think back to my cousin bringing the game over, and suddenly I am looking on the cartridge for a fucking codec code. What? How is that even a game mechanic? And then my best friend Charlie fucking prints out like a 20-page thing from GameFAQ, like laying everything out, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm like reading. This is the actual kind of what I'm not getting from the game. This is like everything is here. This is crazy as shit, and I'm just so excited that you can experience it and it not feel old. Like, I was relieved that you and Mike were so into it, because I was worried. Like, I was a little brokenhearted when Greg didn't like Halo. I'll be honest with you. Like,
totally, me too.
It hurts. It hurts. But I think that this game certainly ages in more interesting ways than the first Halo does as well. So that's like, this game ages for better reasons, I think, that just sort of really interest you in the story and the characters and where they're going, and having those cool cinematic moments. And also, I think one thing that you get impressed by is putting yourself in that time frame, taking yourself back to the late 90s and being like, I can't believe that this is something that happened back then, and the level of innovation that Kojima and Konami were doing. Like, it's
dude,
next
when
to
you're
none.
when you're in the codec calls, or not even the codec calls, when you're in a cutscene and they start describing shit that happened historically, and they cut to FMV footage, just the way they use FMV footage in the game.
FMV footage.
There was nothing cooler to me
good.
when they would reference like real world historical events. I was this is cool alternate history shit that, like,
I learned
as a kid that up.
As a kid, I learned about the Cold War because of Metal Gear Solid.
Straight
Like, I learned
up.
so much about history.
I learned what the DARPA chief is. I didn't know that was an actual role until this game.
The DARPA chief.
One thing I was trying to figure out, though, because I was really wanting to mod this game, because one thing that's really annoying me is the way the textures look. And I posted 2 images in assets, Barrett, of how the game looks in HD and the way that it renders textures. Because it does this thing where, like, obviously the textures are very, very, very low resolution. But when they res all this shit up and everything looks crisp and clean in HD or whatever, they think that the right thing to do is to blur the textures and kind of make them smoothed out. And it just looks muddy in a lot of spots, and characters just look gross. And the second image, Barrett, is what I want. It's what I'm trying to figure out a way to do. And there's got to be some people out there that are doing this, where you are getting that pixelization of the actual, here's how the texture looked, because these textures were made on the tiniest of fucking JPEGs or whatever. And so you see every individual pixel. And I love that blocky looks so much more. And so it's 4 a.m. on Saturday, and I'm like trying to figure out how to mod Metal Gear 1 on GOG to like figure out how to get into the textures and like fuck with them and stuff. And I don't know. I just love this damn franchise so much. And it,
hell yeah.
When we talk about the things that always go viral on Twitter of like what got you into gaming and what made you stay a gamer or whatever, Metal Gear 1 and experiencing that and seeing like, holy shit. Like Greg always talks about, this is what video games can do. I guarantee you that we are one of millions in that category of holy shit. I didn't know that video games could actually be this, and this is so stunning.
See, that was my story too. From it wasn't Metal Gear Solid 1, it was Metal Gear Solid 3, because that was the first one I hopped into. But as a kid, I was an N64 kid, and so I had played so many Nintendo games. I had became obsessed with video games as a kid because I loved Mario so much. And it wasn't until I got a PS2 and a little bit later on when I went to a friend's house, borrowed Metal Gear Solid 3 and Shadow of the Colossus. Borrowed both of those games at the same time.
Bless.
Went home and legitimately had a life-changing experience playing both of those games back to back, because it was a thing where I'd played Shadow of Colossus, and Shadow of Colossus was like the game that had opened my eyes that video games can be art. I was young and I was like, oh fuck, like the style, the music, the meaning, like all of it just struck me in such a different way. And then playing Metal Gear Solid 3, that was the one where I had never played a video game story like that before, where all of a sudden I cared about these characters, I cared about their origins, I cared about the relationship between different characters, I cared about bosses in a way that I'd never. I always saw bosses as a thing to conquer in video games, but Metal Gear Solid 3 was the one where I was like, oh man, I'm facing this guy, and this guy has a relationship with this person over here that I really care about. But then also this boss has a really cool thing here where now this might be my favorite boss battle of all time because of how strategic it is. And like it hit on just such a different level. And I'm sure, just like Andy's saying, right, for so many people, Metal Gear Solid as a franchise probably means that for in terms of getting people into video game stories or carrying in a way deeper way than they would have otherwise.
I think this is what sort of, when people play Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls for the first time and start to idolize Miyazaki, like that was Kojima for me back in the day. And
Totally.
Yep.
looking at my stupid ass MySpace page and be like, what people you would like to meet? Tony Romo, fucking Hideo Kojima. Like it's just one of those people in the industry that has been impressing you from such an early time in his career, and continues to just figure out new and cool, innovative ways and things to do in gaming. And yeah, man, I think a lot of it, not only obviously what happens with the characters, but hearing how obsessed he was with Western cinema, and then seeing that in the game and the shaky camness of everything, and when Cyborg Ninja lands and the flare of his the light on his helmet, like you see that light trail. Just so fucking sick and stylish.
Even on the PS2, as simple as the Barrett, cover your ears, not a spoiler, but like just very like obscure thing, but controlling your camera during a cutscene, right? Like being able to pan over here and over there.
Oh yeah.
Or having a button prompt come up and getting a different perspective. Like shit like that blew my mind on the PS2. Like I hadn't seen stuff like that before.
I mean, it's the reason you talk about too of like, Kojima and then Andy having him on his MySpace page or whatever. Like it was the idea, and I know it sounds so quaint now, but back in the day, that was, I think I talk about all the time, and when I talk about The Last of Us, right, that Naughty Dog was able to show that, okay, cool, we're Naughty Dog, which means something outside of, oh, it's a PlayStation game. Oh, I like that PlayStation game, Last of Us. And just so to think back to 1998, be talking about a game where you knew the creator's name, you knew that Hideo Kojima was the person who this. Like, I was, as I was talking about, the video game guy growing up, right? But in high school, talking to my friends about Metal Gear Solid, there was one guy who, John Campione, he was a great dude, but not a video game guy. He didn't obsess about it. And I remember, talking about the Psycho Mantis fight, and when, oh yeah, me and Poe thought, we turned the TV to the wrong channel because it went black and it went big, Hideo, and then down there, he's like, you understand that's the creator's name, right? Like, yeah, it looks like your video input, but it's his name. I was like, what? And it was this idea of like all that fourth wall breaking stuff that put that game on another level, that put Hideo Kojima on another level.
Yeah, I wanted to mention really quickly, not only is it a testament to Kojima and his vision, but Yoji Shinkawa and his art style. And I've mentioned before, like when we reviewed Star Wars, and how it is so easy to have a design go out of style and look out of date, but the X-Wing will never look out of style or old. But there are movies. Lightsaber. There are movies from that period that the tech looks super lame and cheap and outdated, but something about an X-Wing and the Millennium Falcon and so much of the visual identity of Star Wars has aged perfectly, and everything still looks badass. And when I look at Cyborg Ninja still looks fucking badass. The color scheme, the design of it, I don't know. Like, that's something that could come out in a game today, and I'd be blown away by like
the light tracing when he moves around his head.
Yeah, like it's just, I mean, but it's also like the white helmet with the blue and orange. Like, it's such a weird kind of idea of what to make a character look like, and it still looks amazing. And it's just a testament to their vision and how talented they are.
Yeah,
all the way down to the weapons. Like even the pistol he uses has such character that it like and this is where it turns to a difficult thing to talk about old games, because there is that nostalgia factor, and we've seen fan art for years and all this stuff, but it's like, well, you've seen that fan art for a reason, right? And like all of that stuff is iconic for a reason, and I think that that's because this game built up that it's stealth. Like you do not have unlimited ammo, but it's not Resident Evil. It is not this survival horror thing. It is more your weapon is your friend. And it is something that you were with, and going through and getting the different upgrades for the weapon, especially back in the PS1 game, where it's like not so much upgrades as much as it's okay, here's a new item you put on, and here you have this like new thing. But like all of that just kind of adds up to such a great experience. It was funny watching Barrett's stream of it for the first stream he did, where he's playing and it's like he wanted to get headshots on the guy, and he was like, no, that's not a function, and it didn't need to be. But like,
and then Kevin was telling me to headshot the guy.
Of course he was. Of course.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, is that a thing? Like, that's impressive for PS1.
No, just ignore everything he says.
I think I should start muting him on our streams.
I mean, Andy mentioning Miyazaki, I think, is such a good comparison point because, and this kind of works together with like what Andy was talking about and what Tim was just talking about in terms of, knowing your weapon. There's so much jargon in Metal Gear Solid throughout the franchise. And, Kojima does such a good job of highlighting certain elements of games or certain elements of the game mechanics and how that interacts with the story and the world he's building in a way that makes me care. And I wouldn't care in any other game. Miyazaki, I think, does a very similar thing. When you play, like playing Bloodborne for the first time, kind of took me back to playing a Metal Gear Solid game for the first time because there's so much there in terms of, okay, what does cold blood do? What does that do? Like, what is what's a blood echo? What's this? What's that? There's so much there to kind of dig into and get to understand, and it feels like you are venturing into a world kind of when you're playing a Bloodborne game or when you're playing a Miyazaki game in a way where Kojima, playing Metal Gear Solid and him talking about, or them talking about CQC and what that is, like that is a thing that they built into the lore as this martial art that Snake learned and all this stuff, and it's so important to actual combat. Meanwhile, like in Metal Gear Solid 1, Barrett's just going through and just choking dudes, right? And like that's the whole thing is like, it's just combat. It's just melee combat. That's what CQC is.
Fucking windmill kick.
Yeah. And like
hold down A and then press A over and over again to choke the dude out. Yeah.
All it is melee combat, but they built it into the lore as this thing that we think about of like, oh man, Solid Snake knows CQC, or Big Boss knows CQC. Combat. And it's like, what the fuck? Like that's not a thing that is highlighted as well and as often in other games, but that is very much a Kojima move that I really appreciate.
Video game host the show. What do we do?
I don't know. So like how we play this out then is like my personal goal. I want to try to at least get through a good chunk of 4 before the end of the year, and then like we should take like a month break before we get into the Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes 5 era. Just like a mental break.
We'll see where we're at.
I'd say feel it out because 1 through 4 is going to be a journey.
Mm-hmm. A little too early to plan with how we work.
It's true.
Yeah, and speaking
but
of all
I would
that,
say it's not like urgent that you get back to Peace Walker and the rest of them. Like,
we can take like a breather kind of thing.
Yeah, and then come back.
I'm excited to see the rest of this journey. I can't wait. Honestly, it's inspiring me to maybe go back and play again. It's like, that's the craziest thing about this video game. Maybe I'll beat
time you replayed Twin
MGS1.
Snakes?
Oh, I only played Twin Snakes once, and it was the very first time.
I haven't played Twin Snakes in a long
Dude, I've never
time.
played Twin Snakes. Is it worth playing?
Oh, it's entirely worth playing. And that's
I'll go back to it.
I think I might need to go back and play PS1 version, and I need to beat it to completion at least once.
There are a tiny bit of things that they do change, but it is just cool, blessed to see it in the MGS2 wrapper and seeing the visual style and how they sort of translate stuff. Gameplay style too as well, yeah. But for me, it was always just like, look at these graphics. This is cool.
That was a game,
and Yoshi's in it.
GameCube,
Kinda.
yeah, exclusive.
Why'd they do that? I would have played it if it was on the PS2.
Can you guys imagine E3? E3 wasn't streamed back then. It wasn't, so we'll
Konami,
never
right?
have this moment. It must have been, but it was Konami with the Eternal Darkness team, right?
Yeah.
Silicon Knights. That's what it was. Yeah, my bad.
Silicon Knights. Yeah, that made it happen. But can you guys imagine on an E3 stage of Nintendo, and then Kojima comes out and it's just like, yeah, we're doing a Metal Gear Solid remake.
Oh my god!
Holy,
don't
Blue Point, give us what we want.
God, yeah. Well, that's the modern version. Back then, Nintendo was a little bit more of the times graphically. Anyways, what's up, everybody? This is a Gamescast. You already know that. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Metal Gear Solid. Does it hold up? Have you played it before? Are you planning on playing it after listening to this discussion and are like, wow, maybe it does hold up and maybe this is something worth playing? It definitely is. Spoiler alert. But either way, we love you. Thank you very much. We're about to do the patreon.com/kindoffunnygames exclusive post show. But for everyone else, till next time, I love you. Goodbye.